Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. This is Pop Culture Warrior. I am of course CQ, and I am so wildly excited for the guest that I have on tonight. We've been teasing her for weeks now, and she's finally joining us. My guest tonight hails from the home of the blues and the birthplace of rock and roll, Memphis, Tennessee. She's an amazing voice actress and singer, and is probably best known for her voice roles as the child version of Goku in the English dub of the original Dragon Ball, and the child version of Gohan in Dragon Ball Z in all media, from the shows to the movies and even the video games. I don't want to waste any more time. So let's dive straight in. Everyone, give a huge Pop Culture Warrior to the amazing Stephanie Nadolny, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hey. What? There he goes. Hey, it's weird. It took a second, but
Hey.
we see you. We hear you. You're here. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I'm here in the flesh.
In the flesh, in your studio, no less. We appreciate
Yes.
that. Oh my God.
Best work, hopefully.
So absolutely excited to have you with us. The people are ready. I'm ready. We already have people in the chats going, I love Stephanie.
Oh, that's great. I love you guys so much. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Oh my God.
That was kind of weird, that guy right now. I'm just kidding. No, I love all of you so much. Thank you for having me tonight.
Outstanding. Hopefully I did you justice in the intro. I didn't want to go too long-winded because I want to take advantage of the time I have you know?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, no, that was fabulous.
Outstanding. And as always, guys, if you have questions for Stephanie, go ahead and put them in the chats. I will weave them into the interview. But as always, we're going to start the same way we do with every interview. I'd like to ask you, Stephanie, what is your, if you have one, military connection?
My personal military connection would have to be my grandfather, the John Raphael Nadolny. He served in the Air Force, and he was a bomber. He was a bomber in World War II. He had a Purple Heart, and so that's my, and it's a Nadolny name. So he's my 100% Polish grandfather who served and did a great job. He actually lived to be 88 years old, longer than anybody in my family by far. And diabetes, triple bypass, he survived it all. So yeah, he served his country well. In fact, that's what kind of brought him to Memphis from Rhode Island. It's like kind of a story behind all of that. And so that's my connection. And my stepfather also served in the Army. Let's see, he served in Vietnam. And that would have been, wow, late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
Long before any of us were born.
Of course.
And then, in my show business, show band stuff, we did tons of shows for veterans with our show band at casinos and parties and weddings. And, we always did a tribute every year at the July 4th. So I have a big heart for those who serve and keep us free and just so appreciative of all of that. But where would we be without our armed forces? It just, yeah.
No, I appreciate that. That's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear you have such a unique personal connection to that. That's fantastic. I was telling people this is a few months ago now, but we sat next to each other at Mission City Hero Fest in San Antonio, Texas. Your booth was right next to mine.
Okay, I remember that one. That was great.
It was so fun. And really it blew me away because I have this thing where you walk up to meet someone that you love and you admire, or you love their characters, whatever, and people are generally nice and friendly and these things, but then you walk away, and I always wonder, was that an act, or was it, were they?
Yeah.
And I can honestly say, and I'm saying this to the people that are watching this, that I watched as Stephanie greeted every single person that came up with smiles and hugs and pictures and autographs, and and never once did someone walk away and you were like, ugh, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I gotta do this thing. You were always so sweet, so personable, and like I would hear these stories that people are telling you, and they'd walk away. They're gone, and I could still see you buzzing and excited, and it was so amazing to see
If I
how
had a bunch
much
of chairs, I'd be like, "Oh, everybody come just have a seat and we'll have story time." I don't know.
it was
I
so
actually
good.
am not good with the long lines because I really enjoy, speaking face to face with the fans and hear their stories. And so it's like, if it's a long line, I feel like, oh, I don't want to, I want them to have time, FaceTime if they, want to just to chat for a while. I have some people that come to my table, they just want to chat and I want to
Mm.
chat with them as long as I can and get that feedback and give them some attention and time. And so yeah.
It was, and I remember, yeah, you weren't feeling well. We were chatting a little bit on the side, and you were a little
Mhm.
under the weather, but like, man,
Yeah.
you soldiered on, you braved through it, like you put on the brave face, and like really, it,
Showtime, the show
yeah,
must go on.
exactly,
Not
like
a show, but you know what I mean, like, yes.
you gave everyone 110% of yourself when you weren't even feeling 100%. I think that's so incredible. So thank you for being you
My
and
pleasure, I love every minute of it. I
and
need to
doing
shut
it.
those things down, I'm like the last one out of the building, it's like, it's time to shut it down, like, everyone's gone, the only car in the parking lot, it's like, I guess it's time to go home, so
Exactly. Okay, so let's learn a little bit about you. This is a pop culture show. We talk about everything from movies and TV and cartoons and video games and comic books. What do you geek out about? And it doesn't have to necessarily be in those realms, right? It could be
right.
music or art or whatever.
Mhm.
What's the thing that you geek out about?
I geek out about music and singing and vocals and anything you hear, voices. I mean, as a kid, that's what I immediately was transcended by is music and all things voices. And I don't know, that's where it all started for me. I mean, I listened to disco music as a kid, and both my parents were big music lovers. None of them were performers. None of them were in show business at all. But I was surrounded by music, and that became my personal escape and my personal means of creativity and expressing myself was through singing. And I wrote poetry and songs and made up my own little shows and little voices and characters. And so that was just what I did. And as a kid, I didn't know. I mean, I thought everybody did that. I don't know. I just thought all the kids did kind of that type of stuff. But as I've gotten older and I look back and I listen to other people in the industry, um, some are similar, but I think that really was kind of different because I didn't necessarily see all my friends doing those types of things. I mean, I knew we all loved music and some of them like to sing and dance and things like that. But I mean, I was obsessed with it. Like, I mean, my cassette player and recording and listening back and if only I had the technology we have today, I would have just been all over this, recording and YouTube and writing songs and yeah. So we had what we had, and that's what we had to work
Yeah.
with. That's what started it for me. My dad handed me a microphone. I was 3 years old. We had a stereo hooked up, and it was horrible. It's like pulling teeth to try to get that thing out of my hand, put me to bed because I was obsessed with it. I wanted to stay up all night singing and doing voices and being silly and thankfully I was able to come up with a career to thrive in to some degree and have some make a living at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's so cool. Another question, and it's kind of random, it's kind of out there, but are there any charities? Are there any things that you support that you're a big believer and supporter of that you'd love to shed some light on right now?
absolutely. There's various things, but right now most recently involved in a nonprofit that is an anti-bullying campaign. It's called Pink Thursdays. It's all over social media. um, Usually they highlight somebody in the industry or somebody that supports the cause, and they wear something pink, and then we either do a video or they highlight what they do, and then they have like either like a statement that they either they went through it themselves or they wanted to hey, I'm so and so with this organization and I support Pink Thursdays. So that's a big thing for me. I moved around a lot, so it was like hard for me to fit into a lot of these different environments every 2 or 3 years growing up as a kid. They were always small towns, and so I just had a lot of problem with. A lot of kids do. I mean, it seems like everybody I know has had some kind of issue with some kind of bullying or picking on or being a misfit, and I hear that a lot in the anime industry as well, because it's like that's what they geek out about. Well, people can make fun of you for anything you geek out about, right? Or
Mm,
really, there's not a reason. If you're going to bully someone, you bully them. So that's near and dear to my heart personally. And then also, Breast Cancer Can Stick It, which is an amazing breast cancer support nonprofit that my friend April Samuels runs. She is the figurehead of that entire movement. She's a drummer, and she fought breast cancer. And I think she's 10 years cancer free now, or over 10 years now. But she fights for the cause. She was diagnosed in her late 30s, I want to say, and she, we regularly work together, whether it be I donate autographs or signed figures or things like that to help her with her silent auctions or her online auctions. And she also has a big thing coming up in October called Drumathon. And being a drummer, it's like this big thing in the Dallas Fort Worth area. She brings out really big names to raise breast cancer awareness, and she's doing an amazing job. The lady is a crusader, and I'm behind that 100%. So, and cancer in general, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is a big one for me. I lost my mother right after I got cast as Gohan of sudden aggressive form of leukemia. She was actually my age when she passed. And my best friend in the whole world, also my engineer, business manager, and partner, uh, lymphoma, which is a blood cancer. So that's a big one. Cancer in general, but leukemia, lymphoma, blood cancers have affected me directly, and lung cancer and some others in my family. A lot of my family on my mom's side, a lot of cancer, and just dagnabbit, just it just takes you, and you just it's just it's a tough one. So,
yeah.
but anything and everything, if people approach me and there's a cause involved, like when you said the mission one that we were at in San Antonio, that was benefiting. That was a huge benefit. I think the
Yeah.
whole thing was
It was wounded veterans and
right.
kids. I think it was kids with cancer. It was a split.
Yes, see,
Yeah.
and then St. Jude's, being from Memphis, Tennessee, there's a lot of stuff going on with St. Jude's, and there's lots of ways to donate. Even $1, $5, $10, anybody that even has it. If you think about it, it might some people just can't, but if you can, just even a little bit helps.
Mm,
You know, to go towards something that there's just so many people that are less fortunate. Anything you're going through, anything can always be worse. So I'm all about giving back,
mm.
because we all suffer, we all go through adversities and pain and suffering. But we just learn through it, together, band together and support, and giving to others and being in groups like that helps get me out of my own crazy head of whatever I'm going through, whatever is making me crazy or anxious. And if I get out of that and I can help others, and I also have a huge heart for children and animals. So if I ever have free time, I try to donate my time to walking dogs, or teaching kids piano, or getting online with. In fact, I've got some stuff going on with some schools where they do online Zoom meetings for kids, either in an anime groups, or kids that want to pursue show business, or they want to go into musical theater, and they need like some kind of advice or encouragement from somebody who's kind of been doing it my whole life. That if they want to hear from me and I have the time to do that, we set it up. And even if I have to get up first thing in the morning and drive an hour away and like, good morning, everybody, let's talk about anime, or let's talk about, musicals or singing, or, voice acting, whatever it is. So
Man, how do you
that's a big
find the
part.
time? You do a little bit of everything.
I stay very busy. Yes. I plan each day and each week. And since COVID, man, I'm like, let's do this. I don't want to stop.
There you go. There you go. I'd
Yeah.
love to hear it. No, that's so wonderful. And again, I can speak speak personally that you went and did these things, and obviously being here, donating your time to us, we really
Oh,
appreciate it as
I love it.
well.
Absolutely. This is great. Thanks for having me. Like I said, if you guys want me on, let's do this. Have some
Awesome.
fun.
So a little bit more about you. So obviously I touched on, and you kind of touched on it a bit. You were born in Memphis, Tennessee, which, big music place. Um,
Yes.
what was that like for you growing up? I mean, were you big family, small family? What was the background like?
Well, as a kiddo, my mom and my dad were both the oldest of four, and we all lived in Memphis, Tennessee. All of their families. So I grew up around lots and lots of family, which I miss so much. My mom was the glue. So, and my mom and dad married young, and so my brother and I, he's 3 years older. He was actually born right after Lisa Marie Presley, and my mom actually um, the same hospital that Elvis's
No
child
kidding.
was born, Lisa Marie, and the same recovery room my mother was in that same room, like literally like 2 weeks later. And also, my mom went to the same high school as Elvis many years later, and her yearbook was dedicated to Elvis. Anywhere I'm going with this is that was a big influence for me living there and being around this legacy of Elvis because we were there during his final years. Well,
Mm.
since I was born or whatever, but so I have a big connection to that. And I've sung with a lot of Elvis tribute bands and done a lot of Elvis music live with my shows and different shows and stuff like that. So, but my biggest thing was family, absolutely. And music. I mean, I just radiated to music, and thankfully my parents were both big music lovers, but they were different variety of artists. So I got to grow up with tons of influence with music, whether it be oldies. And when I say oldies, for me, that would have been 50s and 60s. For a lot of you youngsters, that's 70s and 80s. You punks. No, I'm just kidding. So I got that. I got the influence from that, the anything from the Beatles to Elvis to classic rock. So my brother was really into classic rock. And then my mother was into Neil Diamond and um, any Barbara Streisand, Barry Manilow, and then my stepdad, when he came along, was into the old country like Eddie Rabbitt and Dolly Parton and George Jones and Olivia Newton-John. So, I mean, I was just immersed in it. And then with me personally being growing up singing and dancing with my dad was disco. So I radiated towards disco. And the first time I heard Donna Summer sing, I was like transformed into like I want to sound like her. I want to be like her. I want to sing like Donna Summer, who's like my favorite singer of all time. And I remember begging to go to her concerts. I was literally like 4 or 5 years old. And I was like begging my parents, please, can I please go see Donna Summer in concert? And they're like, you're 5. You're not going to a Donna Summer concert. I didn't understand why. But as I got older, I understood that that's just, probably
Yeah,
not the safest place for a little 5-year-old, in the
probably a good
back.
call.
But yeah, but there was family, cousins, a lot of really fun things that I remember from my young childhood, having my parents together, my big brother, and then when the parents split, we moved around quite a bit after that. My memories of Memphis and family are a huge part of who I am and who I am now, and who really developed me into like the character I become. And my mother's my hero of all time. My mother just was amazing. I'm so glad I had her as long as I did. But my gosh, I miss her so much. But there's a lot of heritage there, and what's left of my family who are still living, most of them reside in that area now, all around Memphis and northern Mississippi, and my father's in Indiana, and distant relatives in Rhode Island. So yeah, I loved growing up there. I still love to go back. Haven't been back in a very, very long time. I'm long overdue a visit.
Yeah, yeah. Get a little of the twang come out a little bit when you talk about home.
Oh,
It
you
just
should hear me when I go down there to visit my family. It's like this all the way. I come home talking like everyone there. Are you hungry? Would you like something to eat? Gravy. You want gravy with those taters? Everything's very slow and
mm,
drawn out.
mm.
No hurry down south.
Slip into it so easily, and
It's
and
sleepy and yeah.
you're bringing up an excellent point, and you were talking about because I know I read a little bit about you that early on, obviously you were interested in singing and wanted to pursue being in a band. You performed with Lindy and the Look, as well as Vince Vance and the Valiants.
Yes.
What
Featuring the vivacious vixens of rock and roll, Venus, Violet, and Victoria. And they know
how
who they are.
how
They're
did how did that come about? I mean, what was what was
Oh
that
wow.
experience like?
Man, I just growing up in uh I mean, I really just anything and everything that I could get my hands on. Community theater, drill team, pom pom squad. I took baton. I didn't get very far with that, but it was fun. I was just interested in anything and everything, mostly theater. I thought musical theater was where I was headed, but I didn't want to necessarily relocate to New York and New Broadway. So what ended up happening is I went to college after high school, after moving around all these places. Settled in Dallas Fort Worth and went to UNT in Denton, Texas, and got very, very immersed in the drama department. Um, I was singing in the choir and taking music theory, which I'd taken piano growing up. So I kind of had a good foundation for that and played some piano. And then I got an audition well, it's through the fraternity. I was a little sister for one of the fraternities. Not a sorority person myself. I was much more involved in my drama department, but I met one of the Pi Kappa Alpha, I think it was, and they said, "Well, hey, we need to." I sat in with the band at one of their parties, and they said, "Well, we have a band, and we only have three guys, and we really need another singer. And so, why don't you come and sit in?" And so I sat in with them, and we started rehearsing, and that was Backroads Romance. And then from there, literally, Lindy the Look he lived across the street, Lindy Wilson, and he's an amazing singer, had his own band called Hollywood Heart. He overheard us rehearsing because the window was open, and he heard my voice or something, and he came over after I was leaving and said, "Hey, I have a band, and I'm auditioning singers. I want to have, two, three, four girl singers. Why don't you audition?" So then I auditioned for them, and then I started to get into that group. But then their manager's like, "Wait, hold up, we need a Valiant for Vince Fans of the Valiants. One of our girls is not doing well. She's been with the band forever, but she's ill. She needs to get off the road, quit traveling." And so it literally escalated within, like, I think a month. I was already auditioning for Vince Fans and the Valiants, and I was on the road in less than a week. I was like literally on the road, like tour bus going down the road, like all over the United States. And I never looked back. I thought I'd graduate, not because I was really scholastic, but I mean, once I got a taste of that, I mean, I don't think I even left that band for over a decade. I thought I'd do it for a few years, and then I left and came back again. Like, so I don't know how long it's been, but it's easily over 2 decades and almost three at this point. That the band's still going. He said he's been with the band. His band has been originated in '71, and the band is 51 years old this month. Yes. And Vince Vance is the only original member who is still doing it. Go Vince Vance.
Big shout out to Vince Vance.
Yeah,
My
yeah. And all the
goodness.
girls I worked, all the guys, who've come and gone over the years. Man, I just learned it became like my family on the road, on and off the road. I'm still great friends with a lot of those people.
Any a specific moment that stands out as like if you could boil that one day, that one experience, what's that high for you in the musical stuff?
There were so many. I mean, Vince Vance opened up for so many big names over the years. We played at this from the Superdome to the Super Bowl to the Waldorf Astoria to the White House to the Easter egg roll. Prominently over the '90s, then he was really traveling a lot, doing a lot. The industry was booming at the time. 9/11 hit, and that changed everything for everybody, obviously. But back before that, and even in the '80s before I joined, it was very, very active. I mean, we were on the road 250, 60, 70 days a year. Um, we were on I mean, we were sleeping in airports, and sometimes we didn't even get a hotel. I mean, we were breaking down on the highway, having to rent vans and different alternate forms of transportation just to get where we were going. But it was such a great learning experience. I mean, I had so many. A lot of mine were like I said, opening up for the big acts like the Drifters, the Coasters, Huey Lewis. Gosh, Harry Connick, Vanessa Williams, Casey and the Sunshine Band, the Village People. Um, Gosh, I think even we even did one with the Temptations and a lot of oldies groups because Vince Vance was a '50s to the '90s rock and roll review. It's kind of like Sha Na meets B-52s. And so and then we did like costumes and we were constant visual stuff going on. So I got very involved in the costuming, and then some of the girls would come and go, and then I became like the choreographer and the mentor and the big sister Valiant and the senior Valiant, and I just went through all these phases. And what was cool about it is I could not only sing, we could dance. We had costuming from head to toe. We would detail anything and everything from the '50s to the '90s through our music and we had skits. I mean, there was improv, there was comedy. I mean, it was just really what a great way to cut my teeth on being a professional performer, entertainer. It's not like it was one or the other. It was really all of that. And that's what was so unique about that band is it wasn't just like we got up on a stage and everybody did their part and we played music. It was just when Vince Vance had hair sticking up straight up as pompadour, and he was like the wacky, Cowabunga, I'm here, everybody. Hey, clap. I don't care who you are. You in the cheap seats. Yeah, you too. It was just crazy. And it was just, I really learned a lot through watching him and listening to him interact with the crowd as a consummate professional. And he just ran his show just like, though, even if we were in some club in the back of a bar or a restaurant, it's like it was done like as if we were performing in front of 30,000 people or whatever. It was like he taught us, we learned from him to, you know, head to toe, costume, red lipstick, whatever it is, every little detail. So it was a really good experience. And so, I mean, I had so many, I really can't name one.
No,
Uh,
that's great.
the big show bands and sharing stages with people that have been in the industry, Percy Sledge, and I mean I can't even name them all. There's so many,
Right.
but just to be in that arena and to be around it, the energy, and to see the reactions in the crowd, and and to put on this magical show each and every night or night after night was amazing. I miss it. I'm still doing it sometimes. I've got my own groups and things have changed,
Sure.
but I learned a lot. And Vince Vance had the, the number one Christmas song. In fact, you guys may have heard it. All I Want for Christmas Is You came out in '89. It's kind of the country bluesy song that captivated a lot of hearts, and a lot of times you'll hear that at the holidays, which is coming up. So listen for it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. This is live, but later on when I go to re-edit the episode, I'm gonna be cutting some stuff in there too
Oh,
to
right,
have it
right.
play over. So that'll be great.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, Kelly Clarkson just put it out. She did a version, a lot of versions. Leanne Rhymes, Sammy
yeah.
Kershaw. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
a version of it somewhere. Just hasn't been released.
Get it.
I'm
Slide it
singing
my way,
live.
man. We'll
Singing
do
my
an
stage.
exclusive.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, it can always be done. Absolutely.
We got a great question from Laura in the chats, and it's jumping ahead a little bit because I like to kind of tell the story a little more chronologically. But jumping ahead a little bit, what fan has made the biggest impression on you when you've met them, and what was it about that fan story that touched you?
Oh my, there's been so many, you guys. Gotta rack my brain. Um, there's been a lot. I mean, I remember one in particular in Midland. I want to say Permian Basin Comic Con. There was a gentleman who rolled up in a wheelchair and he was just full of light and love. And he was so excited, and he had his Dragon Ball Z shirt on and his Dragon Ball Z hat, and he just exuded so much just joy and passion, and he didn't have any money, and he was just having so much fun, and I grabbed his hat and said, "Do you want me to sign your hat for you?" And he just lit up, and he was literally crying. It was so cute. And oh, and then there's another one. Okay, so that's one. There was another one where this Robinson, was it Robinson? Yes, outside of Waco. A friend of mine, Shannon, has a shop there called Animotion Plus, and I was there signing autographs, really small little place, super cute with like a family owned business. And this little kid came up and he was with I want to say, I don't know if his father or stepfather. And his father was very stern and very, didn't understand what all this anime
Mm.
and cartoon stuff was about. He thought basically was like, this is just a waste of money. Why would you want to buy this? What is this crap, basically? And the kiddo was like, obviously very hurt by these
Mm.
comments by this person. And I had a lot of that growing up with my stepdad was very army and military and very, and I'm all like, color outside the lines, there's no black and white for me, I am all gray. So I don't know, I saw a little bit of myself in this kid, and he walked away very, very unhappy. I gave him a big hug and stuff, and then I was like, right before he could get out the door, I was signing something for him, and I was literally running out to give it to him. I didn't care about the money. I'm like, no, 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 no. We got to get you something. Which one do you want or whatever? So I coordinated with the owner. They had already left, and I left him something really special. And I made sure, and it's a small town. They were able to track him down. That he was able to get something special. And turned out they were fighting through something hard. His mom was in the hospital fighting something, some illness. It might have been cancer. So they were having a rough time. Whether I don't know the dynamic of what was going on at home with that boy, but that tugged my heartstrings, and I wanted to make sure he had something really special.
Mm.
And Shannon called me and said he got his autograph and he loves it, and so that meant something to me. So I think when it pulls your heartstrings like that, and that that's like giving something a moment and a memory. Because don't you remember when you were a kid, or
Oh
around
yeah.
that age, you start to have memories at like what, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Mm.
and he was probably about 10 or 11, and it's just you remember stuff like that. And if you can touch someone like that or bring sunshine, you don't know what someone's going through. We don't know. So they were going through a rough time, and so I felt good about doing something like that. So that one really stands out as well.
All right, there you go, Laura. Great question. So switching gears, and already a couple people have asked questions, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna get there. So if IMDb is to be believed, I mean, it's the internet after all. I found your work going as far back as 1986, dubbing the English version of Goku for the original Dragon Ball, and you end up doing 126 episodes of that series, which is outstanding. Um,
Right,
how do you find yourself going from music to dubbing
right.
unheard of anime at that
Two
time?
worlds collided. Yeah. It's funny that you say that because my music career and getting in the studio with Grammy Award winning polka band Brave Combo, once I got kind of working with them and actually in the city of Denton where UNT is, this is all just north of Dallas Fort Worth. Um, Vince Vance events and Brave Combo would share the stage a lot of the same kind of Oktoberfest and parties and outdoor festivals and fun stuff like that. And we kind of went hand in hand, and they were kind of the world music polka version of crazy insane live music shows. And I ended up just kind of getting to be friends with them and sitting in with them and just having a lot of fun with those guys. Well, then the leader of that band, we did an album called The Cookies, which I hope to get up on Spotify. I've not done it yet, but it's an album that basically hasn't been released yet. It's all original music. When I met with them in the studio, I met the producer. This is all completely blind. I had no idea who he was, but we were working with a client. His name was Barry Watson, and he was actually at the time dubbing Dragon Ball Z and the Ocean dub in Canada. So this was 1997, I think, when I met him, and maybe early 98. Anyway, I had done a little bit of work with Chuck E. Cheese as Helen the Hen, just for a brief period of time before they switched ownership. And I met Barry at that particular time. He heard my voice. I was singing some background vocals for this like Battlestar Galactica type show that Funimation was producing, and so I was layering these vocals, these magical kind of like this crazy stuff. And Barry asked me, have you ever done any voices or do you do voice work? And I said, well, I do voices for fun all the time. I prank called my friends when I was growing up, and I mimicked, The Simpsons and Beavis and Butthead, all the time. So he gave me his information and he kept mine. And not long after, and less than a year later, he called me to come in and audition for Dragon Ball Z, which I knew nothing of, didn't know what it was. Really small studio in Fort Worth, and showed up and auditioned for what I thought were, well, I'm a girl, I'll audition for the girl part. So I auditioned for, 4 or 5 girl parts, and Poir, Chi Chi, Bulma, the fans will know who these are. And thought, okay, well, that was fun. I hope they liked it. But they asked me to do a kid voice. I grew up with brothers. We all grew up with kiddos in school. So I channeled, is this a boy voice? How's this? And they said, just add a little more rasp. And I did. And I got called back pretty quick, about a week later, and they asked me to dub the voice be the voice of Gohan. I was like, I'm the voice of Gohan. Who's that? I had no idea what I was doing. And then from there, that my career in voice acting was born. And all this time I thought, oh well, this is gonna, we finished this one, Then they cast me as Goku in Dragon Ball, and then I thought that I kept thinking everything was gonna be over, right? Like, and I'm really excited to be a part of it, but it's still around. It's like this huge gateway anime. I call it the gateway anime. It gets you into all the other
Mhm.
animes, right? Because it was already hugely popular in Japan in the 80s, and of course all through the 90s. So to see it evolve and become this big ginormous franchise that's like it's still, they've got Kai and Super now, and then the superhero movie just came out, and I know a lot of those actors that are, the adult versions of Goku and go on, and seeing that it's still transcending on this time. I don't know, I guess I just figured things end. Okay, we're done. Okay, that one's over. I just feel like it's over, but this one is not over at all. It's like it's my livelihood right now is Comic Cons and appearances and interviews, and it's all kind of goes back to that franchise that kind of put me on the map in the industry when I thought for sure it'd be singing. I mean, why wouldn't it be singing, right? But no, it's, I guess that the voice acting thing is I think sometimes I thought that everybody could do it, and I think there's tons of people who can, but to get that exact voice and for a character and to be able to change your voice and mold your voice into multiples of characters is something that, I guess it's kind of more unique of a talent than I realized. And I was
Yeah.
doing it for fun, just being silly as a kid.
Uh, you're getting I guess a shout out from Brandy McComb.
Brandy, she's one of the Vionettes. She's
What
my
I- what
sister Vionette. Yes, she was Victoria, the little girl with the big voice.
Yes, she says to ask her to talk about doing voices on the tour bus
Oh
late
yeah.
at night, even in the early 90s. She's been crazy talented for years and years.
We had so much fun. We have some videotapes of that 8 millimeter tape somewhere hidden. We're going to be putting a little snippets. In fact, Brandy's already done that, and she's been putting some up online on social media to show you people what we did and how we had fun with this, show band. Because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff too. It's not just all during the show, a lot of times we had to perform, and we had to put all that stuff down, and we didn't have much footage unless somebody was there in the crowd recording, and we have snippets and things like that. But we had, like, especially Brandy and I, she joined, like, I think a year, a 2 year, no, a year and a half after I did. And so I'd been in the band, a year and a half. And I don't know what it was about her and I, but we had this thing about really being just completely insanely immature, silly. Like, and as much as some people just aren't into that, and they're like, no, I'm 25, or I don't act like that. But we didn't care. We were on the bus. It was fun. We were silly. We laughed constantly. I mean, the minute we met. So Brandy would be right there with me when we were doing these voices, and we would, I don't know, we would make up, like, she would sing like Annie, and then we'd trade off, and I'd sing a verse of Annie's song, maybe far away, and she'd be, oh, maybe real nearby. We would just go back and forth, and we put our hair in pigtails, and talk like kids. And Beavis and Butthead, I think we did. And oh, she could do Cher, and so we would do Cher. We would imitate, of course, I had to imitate Donna Summer. And we would just go back and forth, and have so much fun. And we do have some of this on recordings, but they're not really very clear. But they're out there, and we're getting to them. We just haven't been able to put much of it online yet. But I mean, we do anything from making up songs to be, we'd sing a song called "I Got the Beefaroni Blues," and she'd be pouring her beefaroni, and we'd heat up beefaroni. We were on the road, we had to, like, find creative ways to eat when there was no restaurants. It'd be like, we don't stop for 3 or 4 hours, and then we're starving, and I don't know. So yeah, Brandy was a big part. We still are. I still call her sometimes and leave messages. Like, some of the fans that would come out, I would learn how to mimic their voices, not making fun of them, but just trying to mimic that.
Impressions, sure.
So we had a lot of fun off the stage, just as much as we had on stage, just being silly and having I don't know, making fun of ourselves. We would look in the mirror and, like, try to make this. No, my mouth is small. No, your mouth is large. My mouth is really small, though. And we would just go back. She's probably
That's
laughing right now.
She is. She's laughing in the chats.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. We were talking about the anime stuff, and when you just switched over, kind of from music, and found yourself doing these anime voices, these characters.
Right.
I'm curious. Do you remember, like, what your thought was at first, like, doing this, and seeing the animation, or even maybe seeing that first episode come out and hearing your voice come throughout
Right.
this boy mouth? Like, what
Right.
did you think of it all?
It was crazy because, I mean, I remember doing it. I remember not being confident in the industry at all yet. I had never really, I mean, done it for fun, but never done it as a profession, as a job. You show up, this is your time, this is your session. And I just remember early on just kind of having these feelings of self-esteem issues, like, oh my gosh, I don't know, they might not like me, so they might not like me, and I might not get to do this ever again, or I don't know, just basic stuff. Being in the industry of, getting tons of rejection, tons of no's. Even to this day, I'm constantly auditioning, not anything in the works at all with voice acting, and that's fine. If you don't try, you got to keep trying, and you just get a lot more no's than yeses
Mm.
most of the time. And I'm sure a lot of people in the industry right now, even extremely successful people, can tell you that it takes a trillion million no's to get your one yes. And some of those yeses are little, some of them are huge. Being there at that day at that audition, you literally changed my life. I'm still working in the industry now, strictly right now, over the nostalgia of Dragon Ball Z. And it's like, wow, I mean, what a blessing is that? And it got me out of the darkest days of my life when, before the pandemic, there was a lot of things that happened in my life, and I couldn't be a mom. And there were just all these things, missing my mom and not being able to have family. And it basically, I got lost, and it gave me purpose, because now I can get face to face with my fans. I can, get some validation in knowing I did some good things, and that I can do good things again, and continue to try to inspire, and you know that kind of thing. So I look back at it now, and I'm like, I feel like I can relate to Gohan and his dad's, and his dad had died, and it's like my mom behind me going, you can do it, Stephanie, you can do it, you can do it, whatever. And so yeah, but I just remember early on being like, I don't know if I'm going to be good at, what do they want from me? And then once I got through the first couple sessions, and they would use the voice reference in my headphones, 2 or 3 months later, sometimes we weren't in very often. then I'd basically start mimicking myself. And then after, after a few sessions, I was like, I knew exactly where to go in the throat. And then when Goku came along, I just pitched everything up and then tried to utilize my acting skills to work on delivery and things like that. So, but to hear it and see it on TV and to be able to share that moment with my mother while she was fighting her cancer was like cathartic. I mean, she was literally on the couch in her little cap and she'd been through chemo and we were watching it on TV, like when it was airing. Like there's something really special and magical about that. Or like you do an ad or a radio ad and then you hear it on on
Hmm.
the on the radio while you're driving down the road. Or it's like it's not like you're just pushing play. It's different. It's like it's on the air. People are watching and listening to this right now, and I'm experiencing it. So that was when I realized, wow, this is kind of a big deal. This is on Cartoon Network. Like I didn't know where it was going at first. I didn't know where I was going to see it or hear it. And I was getting VHS tapes. Hey, you're on this tape or you're on this. I didn't realize that it was going to be seen so worldwide. All
Yeah.
over the world in different languages everywhere. In fact, Brandy might remember in Italy we saw Dragon Ball Z stuff in the souvenir shops about a year and a half after I was cast. And then I turned on the TV in Italy, Naples, Italy, my little TV in my little room. There's Gohan speaking in Italian. It's like, this is crazy. I had no idea it was so popular.
Yeah.
To this day, I'm blown away by it. I'm so humbled by how crazy huge the show is.
I'm curious, you being closer than pretty much anyone to that source material and to the characters, and do you have a is there an idea or a thought in the psychology of like why is it so popular? Because there's hundreds, if not thousands, of animes. At
Yeah,
this point in
sure.
time, they've all been dubbed. At this point, what
Mhm.
do you think is it about specifically Dragon Ball Z that captured so many?
I think it's just the story is very well written. I mean, Akira Toriyama is a genius. And I think that the characters had so much dimension. And I think that kids, I mean, all ages, but my experience as far as the OG Dragon Ball Z, where you're talking like 98, 99, I guess more like, yeah, 99 through like 2008 or 9. Most of my fans are in their 30s or maybe close to 40, but at the time they were, anywhere from 4 to 12. I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing. I do remember that when I first did my first convention at the San Diego Comic Con in 2000, I completely lost my voice because I was having to prove to these kids that I was the voice of Gohan. You're a girl, but you're a girl. I know, I know, I know. And I just remember being completely like doing the voice all day long for like 3 days. And but I had to prove it, right? They were like, you're a girl though. I know, but I'm Gohan. Can't you tell? And then of course Super Saiyan go on screaming and yelling, but it's worth it. I had to prove it. They wanted to hear that voice.
How many Kamehamehas did you have to do?
Oh, right. Right. Oh, man. Well, especially later on when I did the Cell Saga with Super Saiyan Gohan,
Oh
yeah,
my
that was crazy. And I
okay.
was singing this whole time I was dubbing at my sessions. I was on the road with Vince Vance and the Valiants, anywhere from, gosh, our tours were anything from like 3 to 28 days. So my voice was, we were, all of us, my voice was taking a beating, but I think that's where I learned how to just find a way to have resilience and
Mm.
by using my voice and practicing and vocalizing and learning what's good for my voice, take care of my voice, trying to drink water, sleep did amazing things. We'd get on that tour bus and we would sleep for hours and we'd be like powerhouses by showtime. Even if we had no voice, we were sick, we had, coughing and hacking all day. And then when it came showtime, it was like, where the boys are. I mean, it would just come out of like, you know, you sleep all day and then you can just the last minute, I think I can do this.
Yeah,
But
just
you
push
don't
it
have
out.
any choice. I mean, it is the show goes on. The show must go on. And
You mentioned hearing it around the world. We have someone, Pete, in the chats who grew up in Greece and remembers watching it as a kid. So there you go.
wow.
It was in Greece as well.
Yes.
Um, you
Where
question
the
from
first donuts were invented in
that's
Greece.
right. That's
Oh,
right.
stupid joke.
Uh,
Dad joke alert.
uh,
That same tour, that Italy tour, we actually went to Greece there. We did a naval base tour, and so I didn't see Dragon Ball Z there at the time, but I hope you love it out there in Greece as much. I don't know if they do subtitles or if you hear our voices and read or if it's dubbed in Greek.
that's a great question. From Scott in the chats, did you ever watch the subtitled anime just to get a sense of the tone of certain scenes, or did you just do it completely in the blind?
Total blind. I don't know about, so I think some of the other actors have different stories. I know they all have different origin stories, but for me personally, there was no voice reference, which I think I thought that I would be better at it had I been given that choice. But I wasn't even shown a picture of Gohan. Like I had no idea really what I was doing. I was just, okay, let's be a little boy, or what are we gonna do now? Yeah, and so I don't know why they. I mean, maybe there was a reason behind that. I know that the woman that was dubbing Gohan in Canada, was also a singer. I met her recently at Kamehacon 4, and so I think the director, having directed her and knowing her voice, knowing that she was a singer, knowing that she had a certain I always want to say timbre, it's timbre, my voice. He just thought, well, maybe she can kind of sound like the Gohan that we've already been working with, and I think that's what happened there. And then once we started dubbing, there was still no voice reference. I could only see the character and his mouth moving.
Mhm.
So I don't know. There was probably a reason behind that with the director. It didn't bother me. I mean, I just kind of followed direction, and that was fine. But yeah, it was there was very little information given until it was time to actually be cast and go in for my first session, and that's when the director was like, "Okay, here's what's going on. Let me tell you a little bit about Gohan. Let me tell you about where we're because we started at like episode 54, which was kind of like we were kind of thrown into wherever they left off, which is the Ginyu
Right.
Cycle. So, but as I came in, you know, if there was something that I wasn't capturing the emotion, we give it a try. And if it wasn't like higher stakes enough, once we'd see it, be like, oh, I know what to do. And then they would just rewind the tape and try it again. And that's kind of how we did it. And that's how we voiced
Wow.
three beep, or the imaginary third beep is when you start. And if you didn't get it the first time, you could keep voicing wild, and sometimes they could slide it into place. So
Perfectly.
how we
Uh,
did it back in the day.
okay. So I was going to ask, since you've done both kind of the English dubbing for what is already in existence, and I know you've even done original voices, what are for the layperson here that's watching, what are the challenges of each, doing the dub or doing the original voice?
They're different. I mean, obviously, you have to be able to have the voice first. You have to be able to create the voice that the director's looking for. That has to be established, and then from then on, it's about reading the script. There's a little bit of mic technique involved, although that's usually a technical thing they can change, like where the microphone is. And for there was actually an added challenge for us because we had paper scripts, and we were in a tiny little booth, and some of my lines, I mean, I can't just do standing still. I mean, I got to be like, because they're fighting, and
Mm.
I found myself being able to create those sounds and those exertions by actually kind of acting out what I'm watching, which helped, with the dubbing and the mouth placement and the sound you're producing and things like that. So it was a challenge to not just smack into everything, like, whoops, sorry, you guys try that again. So you just kind of had to watch yourself so there would be no, my, I think excessive mouth noise, and it sounds really gross, but like, those little noises you make if you've got like, I don't know, if you're sick or you've got like too much mucus in your throat, you know, noises, nasal noises and things like that. But the thing is you can fix that when you're there. But there were times when some of that stuff would escape us, and we'd just come back the next time they needed us, and we would knock out the pickups and
Mm.
then move on to whatever else was there. So, but yeah, I think that my sense of timing, uh, the dubbing came easy because I am a singer, musician, and a trained, whatever I am. I'm a trained professional.
Professional.
But learning like the rhythms of okay, so he's talking, this is what he has to say, bop, 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 bop. It's like, oh wait, well, we gotta go faster, and then you do it again and you try to make it match. And then the directors are really good about that too. Because then they'll say, okay, we'll try it like this. Oh, that's too long. We need to remove a word. And that was at their discretion. So it's just a matter of following their instruction. And sometimes the director would give me a flat out read, and then I'd mimic that tone, that style in Gohan's voice. Some actors are like, no, 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 don't do that. Well, I don't care. As long as we get what you want, I'm fine with mimicking their tone.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. And
Yeah. the timing, you know.
And you've done a number, a large number of the games as well, doing the
Oh,
voices
right.
for the games. What's the
Video games.
challenge then taking this voice to video games?
Man, I remember the video games were very different. There was not a lot of dialogue. The games did encompass a lot of battle scenes and tournaments and fighting and a ton more exertions and rapid fire exertions and kamehameha done 18 different ways with different breaks, and some were short and some were long, and they had to have all of that so they could place it. So, and then the difference with that one is we weren't dubbing anything. We were basically just following direction, and we would literally have these scripts that would say like TSST, and it's like, what is that? Or it's, how do you spell that out, right? You know, you just had to guess. Like I said, a lot of times the director at the video games would say, "This is what it sounds like. Go ja," and I'd be ja, and then they'd say louder, longer, and then I just remember it was a lot of rapid fire, slam packed into, even if it was like just an hour
Mm.
of just straight nonstop. So usually by the time I was done with the session, my head was pounding and I just needed a ton of water and I just needed to chill and just not talk to anybody for a few hours. But yeah, but I think the pay scale's a little better for games too. So I think that's thrown into the mix, knowing that it's going to be much more um, trying
Mm.
to get through and to really really challenges your voice and your body and on your throat like that. So
You brought up an interesting point of like specifically with like the kamehameha and how it can be kind of drawn out. For do you remember like what's the longest one you've done? Was it like a 3 minute long? Because
it
some of these it
seems
felt like the
longer.
whole
I don't.
episode.
Right. I have to go back and listen to them, and some of the fans or some of the thanks to YouTube and different things like that, and social media, people can put up little different, oh, remember this scene, remember this scene. So it was done a long time ago, and I do remember a lot of the really long ones with the Cell Saga with Gohan and spreading them out, and then like these pregnant pauses in between, and then this the flash from here to there, and then he's still it's like it just goes on and on and on. And then as far as the screams to do the big ha, as long as you can, and then of course they can overlay more of the final screams over it to elaborate on how big it's supposed to be and things like that. So
Do you ever I can only imagine like the script comes in and it's like page one, he starts kamehameha and then like end episode. Like it's just like some of these like the scenes
next
were
time
just
on Dragon Ball Z. Oh man.
exactly. It was like, man, like I can only imagine these scripts must have been so small because it felt like
They were page after page, and then they had to have like a timestamp for the ADR director to know what they're doing on the technical side of things on the recording. Also, so they can know when they're going back to edit. They have to know exactly what the timestamp is on the corner of the screen. Of course, we were working off televisions that stuck out to here. There were no flat screens. We were dealing with boob tubes. This was late '90s, so yeah, there was no. I mean,
mm,
it's different now, but it was cool. I mean, we did what we did, and at the time, I guess it was kind of cutting edge. I mean, analog, I guess.
it's
Now we're
very rock and roll, man. You guys were just making it happen.
yeah, and it was just, and we would not even work together per se. Like some of the actors were also directors, so we would kind of see each other there. But like coming and going is kind of when we met, and then if we had a cast party early on, we had cast parties every year to celebrate the release of whatever we were all working on. And at the time, it was Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, and then they acquired more properties like Fruits Basket and Yu Yu Hakusho was another big one. Kitty Grade, Blue Gender. There's all kinds of. The company just kept growing, and now it's so big. There's people from all over. It was Funimation, then Sony. Now it's Crunchyroll. So it's just bigger and crazier than ever. And it's just so competitive. So much talent in Dallas Fort Worth.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And we're already we're getting close to the hour, so like I got a couple more questions for you, and then we'll let you go. But this is such
Oh,
a
cool.
unique experience to see behind the scenes and to hear
It
your story. Um,
was
you know,
cool. It's cool.
being how uber popular it still is. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier that this thing is it seems to have only grown in popularity over the
Yeah.
years. I'm curious. You must have these experiences where people come bearing gifts to you at these conventions, and like, what's the most like unique, strange, off the
Oh,
wall kind of gift you've ever been given?
they're they it's crazy. Like lately, especially doing a lot of Comic Cons now that we're at it kind of coming out of the worst of COVID and people are ready to get out and about more than ever. It's like something going on every weekend all over the world, it seems like. Um, oh, the weird. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people come with vintage toys, like and stuff that you can only find in Japan and stuff that they made in the 80s. Like some of that, like there's like my friend Stephanie in Florida, she has everything, anything and everything, the biggest collector of Dragon Ball merchandise. She's got the biggest collection as a female, like you, she knows every. I'm like, Stephanie, what is this? And like, and she tells, oh, I've got one of those, got three of those. It's like she's got it all. But like the other day, like I did an event in Illinois in the kind of in the middle of nowhere, and somebody brought a Dragon Ball Z pinball machine, but it was like tabletop. And it
Oh,
had like all the characters on there, and you could like play it. And so he's like, "You got to play it and make a TikTok or something." And I'm like, "Okay, let's play pinball." Yeah, whoa, yeah. So that was pretty cool. But I mean, gosh, the most unique thing, I don't know, a lot of people are getting tattoos of the show, like they're doing their whole arms, and there's Gohan on their leg, and then there's Kid Goku on this leg, and there's Vegeta over here. I mean, it's like, and sometimes people will send me pictures of people that couldn't come, and they're like, this friend of mine, check out his tattoo, and it's his whole back, like it's all big giant Goku going, oh. So I'm always amazed at that. I mean, that's some commitment. If you're putting a tattoo on your body and you're growing up, and you're growing up and watching it all over with your kids, it becomes a part of these people's lives. It's really amazing to see. But yeah, there's always something different. But the vintage stuff to me is really cool. And then when they come up with the Burger King toys that got released in, like, I want to say 2000 or 2001,
right.
the Happy Meal of Burger King. Sorry, that's McDonald's, but they'd give you a little package toy. And of course, I remember going to Burger King, and I had my video camera. And my friend Carl was like, "Let's go to Burger King and let's go see if they'll give you a Gohan figure." And I just remember living it. Like I said, all thinking all of this was just a blast in the pan, and flash in the pan was all going to be over. And then, as I'm going through and purging my house right now, I'm finding boxes of these things that are literally 20 plus years old, which are considered, I guess, vintage in their own right or
Mhm.
whatever. So I'm finding those toys that I got at the Burger King in the year 2000. And it's like, I don't know, when people come up with stuff like that, that's pretty impressive to that's something they had for a long time, or they acquired it, or they got it on eBay, and then to see it in person is really cool. And the other day I saw like a little bike that Bulma was riding on, and they had a little Gohan sitting on the back seat going, "Yeah, go for a ride." So of course I have to see it and hold it and hold the little Goku in my hand and take a picture with it. Look how cute. So
Yeah.
yeah, they bring some super cool stuff.
Yeah. Is there
Pretty
is there anything, speaking of collectibles, is there anything that you either you saw it and you're like, "Oh my God, like that's the coolest
yeah.
thing," or something where you're like, "Man, I have to have that collectible of, that thing." Is there anything that stood out?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of Goku plushies that are super cute. Like one's like a little one. He's got like you can hang him on your tree or whatever. And then I found one that was just this super fat round Goku. And so he's just round, and then you just see his hair sticking out, and he's just like, I'm Goku. So I've got a couple of plushies that I cherish, that I kind of set out, and so stuff like that I know I can get. Or I try to like collect some things for my niece. My nieces are almost 20, 23, and 19, my brother's kids, and they're into it now because like they knew I was crazy Aunt Stephanie and doing these voices, and they didn't know what it really was. And now that they're grown up and they're like 20 something, they're like, oh my gosh, somebody's selling your card on eBay and it's worth this much, and, and stuff I don't even know. I really don't even realize what these things are worth. But some of these vintage cards that we sign at like some of the Hummer tours that we were on with Score Entertainment, we would do like mall tours and stuff. Those cards are some things that I'm starting to. Those are easy to collect too because they're small, easy to store, or you can display them easier. So I've been really kind of collecting those. And then the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan right now pop toy is so hard to find and worth. So I guess it's because it's an exclusive. I don't know, but I have finally got one, and I'm holding on to it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but I gotta have one. I gotta save one.
Do you,
So I
do
guess
you sign your own figures?
when I want to get them authenticated, I do. I sign them, and you never know what could happen. It's like I might as well sign it.
Hey,
Things happen to people, and
no one's asking for my autograph, but I'd sign things if
I know.
if
I mean,
someone.
just that alone, it's like you want my autograph.
Yeah, I've got a couple of Dragon Ball Z Funkos and a couple other
Yeah,
things in there. I grew up, I was a fan. Haven't
yeah.
committed to the tattoo yet. I think one day.
Right, right.
Now I'll have to get Gohan. I'll have to get,
I don't know.
at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah, they're more popular now than ever. Yeah, I've never had a tattoo. I don't really particularly want one. But if I got a tattoo, dag nabbit, I'd have to have a Goku. A little Goku on the Nimbus of
Little
love.
little fat Goku with the hair.
Here it is. Exactly.
Awesome. Stephanie, this has been a phenomenal conversation. Thank you so much. I want to give you a minute here. Where can people follow you? Where can people find you? How can they support you? The floor
Mm.
is yours.
Okay. The easiest way to find me online is just stephanienadolny.com. It's my website that is it's been in a work in progress. There's a lot that still needs to be added. So that's got everything. It's got my socials. I'm more active than anything on Facebook and Instagram. I've been active on TikTok now since probably March or April. So I'm having fun recording some different kind of quirky, skitty kind of funny stuff on. I'm learning about the content and things like that from people that do it all the time and understand. The youngsters that are kind of with it with the newest and greatest of social media. But stephanienadolny.com is really the best way. I try to update that where I'm going to be week by week usually, and then I don't know. I mean, Stephanie Nadolny, voice actress on Facebook. Instagram is just Stephanie Nadolny, and TikTok is at Steph Nadolny. And Moonglass Band is my show band. I have a trio slash quartet that we perform around, Dallas Fort Worth. We're doing some shows here and there. But my website is a good place to start.
Outstanding. But before we let you go, would it be too much to ask for a classic Gohan? Maybe hey guys, don't tune in to Pop Culture Warrior.
So you mean like just say something as Gohan?
Yeah,
Or
something. I'll try to use it in the show, like a tune in to Pop Culture Warrior or something like that.
tune into Pop Culture Warriors?
Yeah, to Pop Culture Warrior,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hi, it's Kid Goku. Tune in to Pop Culture Warriors. And it will do Gohan. This is Gohan. Super Saiyan Gohan here. Tune in to, what was it again?
Pop Culture Warrior.
Tune in to Pop Culture Warriors. No! Yeah!
Outstanding. You are the absolute best. I'll give you the last. I'll give you the last second here. Say goodnight to our audience, and then I'll toss it to a break.
Thanks, guys. If you have any questions, just email me through my website or stephaniefanmail@gmail.com.
All right, guys. We'll be back with more right after I go say goodbye to our guest. Hang tight.